fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Ozicar is back and we hit the track at Brands Hatch. Tonight we have 2 races around the Brands Hatch circuit with 1 around the Grand Prix circuit coming up later on, but we will start the night off around the Indy circuit, the short 5-turn circuit, which will provide an absolute handful for our drivers with such a tight, compact field around a very, very small track. My name is Jay Kennedy. Joining me for the first time this season, and who will be a regular throughout the season here on Thursday nights, Mr. Jason Fewens, former driver of the series, having a little bit of a rest, joining us in the comms box, mate.
Thanks, Jay. You know what they say, if you can't do it, you commentate. So I was swapping the steering wheel for a microphone and thought I would jump behind the broadcaster's mic and see what we could do.
And we've got an absolute hectic track ahead for our drivers. It is a short, fun layout that will provide some intense, close, tight, and absolutely entertaining racing. So looking forward to seeing how it goes. The Brands Hatch just south of London. But this Indy layout is very, very tough for a lot of reasons. One being that you've got no straights at all. It is turning the whole way around.
Yeah, the undulation of the track's like no other that you sort of see in the iRacing server, really. Short sub-minute, I think 50, 51 second lap times the front runners are doing, so there's really not a lot of time to stop and rest. She's, from the moment the lights turn green, she's go, go, go.
So that there is the Grand Prix layout. We're running the shorter layout, so going from Surtees to Clark Curve, cutting across the circuit through there. So it's going to be very, very tight and short. Qualifying has just finished for our drivers. We're going to quickly run through the grid because it is a very packed one tonight. Ben Snell and Alex McCullough on the front row. Russell Clark and Alex John on row 2. John Schultz and James Chastanoff the third row. Then we've got Josh Fitch Johnson and Sean Doyle on row 4. Donald Sabanel and Daniel Hedderscheid, they are on row 5. Braden Martin and Matthew Mites in 11th and 12th position. Then we've got Dennis Hancock, Justin Howe, Jeremy Bush, Scott Barton, our championship leader, a little bit down the field. He'll start from 16th position. Then we've got Scott Harvey and Matthew Spencer, the top 18. Jacob Banwell, Vic Bent Velton, Stafford Marsland, Ira Felberg, Peter Wilkinson, Darren Lassou round out the top 24. They just keep going. Simon Dobner. Then we've got Stuart Crawford, Cameron Cousins, Leon Williams, Greg Holmes, and one more driver, that being Craig Kerman, did not post a lap time. Sadly, though, there is a name that is missing from our list of drivers tonight, who we normally would see out there on track, that being Nathan Verney. Now, Nathan Verney is watching us tonight, and sadly is out of action. Currently in his hospital bed, recovering from a back operation, but also, to make it a little bit worse, he's just moved into a new house. So to help him out a little bit, the team at Ozicar, that being the drivers and a few of the supporters, have all pitched in so that you can get rid of that dodgy VR and get back out on track with a nice, fresh, new VR set. So there'll be a nice little present waiting for you, Nathan, once you get home, with a little bit of cash to help you out with a new VR set from the team, that being the drivers and the management of Ozicar. So it's really cool that the community's got behind him there to help him out and support him to get back on his feet, literally, and to get him back out on track very soon.
Absolutely. It's not too often, I think, a community gets behind, but the iRacing guys all tend to support each other, so we're getting ready to go green any second now.
Yep. Just waiting for the last driver to hit the field. Revs are now starting to rise. 17 laps ahead of our drivers for race 1. Green flag flies, and a horrible, horrible launch there. The front for Russell Clark. There's something wrong with his car there. He's not got away at all. And that's stacked up the entire inside row. Front of the field other than that, have got away okay. But Russell Clark from the front of the field is now back in the 20th position. And he is struggling big time. Big lockups at the front, no surprise. But this huge field means that is a tough break. And just when his night was going bad, it's gone from bad to worse. I believe that was Jacob Unwell.
Like I said, sub 1 minute laps here, so there's not a lot of time. There's 17 laps to get through the race, but there's not a lot of passing opportunities. There's only 5 corners per lap, so he's going to have to really knuckle down early, make the best of some opportunities, and see if he can get his way back through the field.
100% side by side for 4th and 5th position. There's James Chastano and John Schultz. Lots of green at the front of the field, and then there's a little bit of pink and blue to separate them up. But at the front, Snell, McCullough, John, and this battle for 4th and 5th being Schultz and Chastanoff. Very, very spicy. James Chastanoff using the grass to help him around the corner. Might help him get the apex, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the quickest way through.
No, that's right. Because the lap times are quite short, it's normally you've got to, by the end of the first lap, your tyres are warm enough and your brakes are up to speed, but it takes a couple of laps here tonight. So everyone's got to be careful on these opening laps and just give each other a little bit of room, make sure they show some respect, and make sure they see the end of the race.
Interestingly, watching during qualifying, drivers were sacrificing lap 1 as extra time to warm up their tyres. So when we get to race 2, tyre temp is going to be very, very interesting with only the 2 laps. And you just saw Sean Doyle there, the lead car in this train. This is 6th on back, really struggling for power down out of turn 5, out of Clark Curve. And it's just enabled that next group of cars to really close in on him. As header shied, that's not the preferred line. He's going to just keep it on the circuit. Just keep it out of the wall. He's going to drop quite a few spots though.
Yeah, real gaggle of cars there at the moment, isn't there? One little mistake's really amplified, and you suffer big time for minor discrepancies, I guess.
Just saw there the car of Mitch Johnson just getting ahead of Donald Sabanel in the Milo car. Good to see the Milo boys all out in force. Lots of green out there tonight between the Milo cars and the top split cars, but they're fighting with those pink and green machines. It's Justin Howe uses a pro truck move. It's a very, very sideways, but does hold on to it.
So the Milo boys have done a bit of recruiting in the off-season, and they do say safety in numbers, so we've seen both teams of green cars work together over the last couple of seasons, and up the front where every split second counts. I think the more support you've got around you, the easier your race is going to be.
100%. Work together early so that you can fight hard at the end. As you just heard in the background, a car going around. That's Vic Ben Veltzen in the 09. He's going to continue on. Doesn't look like he's got too much damage. As Jacob Anwell all sorts of crossed up into turn 2 down the hill. Go back to that battle we were watching before though, because Mitch Johnson and Sean Doyle, they're swapping positions. And Sabanel's right back in this now, even though he lost that spot not that long ago.
I think you'll find Doyle just dropped a couple of wheels off on the exit of Graham Hill there, so that's made him a little bit vulnerable through the infield section of the track, so he's under attack now. There's cars coming from all directions.
Definitely is. Just saw Dennis Hancock and Braden Martin just change position as well. This track looks very, very simple on paper, but the elevation just changes the whole complex of the circuit, doesn't it? Just the uphill, downhill, turn 1 being a blind apex downhill. Very, very uncharacteristic for what we see in modern racetracks. Amazing circuit, this one, underrated.
Jeremy Bush just lost it on that undulation going through turn 1, so he managed to catch the slide, but plenty of smoke and a bit of a heart and mouth moment for the carts around him as well.
Get up on the VRS replay. Big thanks to Virtual Racing School for their support of us here at Simspeed TV. See Jeremy Bush, the 04 car. Being so low to the ground, it makes, while it's a blind corner, he did a great job to hold on to that. While it's a blind apex, it amplifies how bad or how hard it is to hit it because you're so low in the car, doesn't it? It makes it really hard to sight where you've got to turn in. You almost have to guess, hope and pray that you've got it right.
Yeah, you've really got to commit to the apex well before you see it, and I think it's like Bathurst, and a lot of people say they go to Bathurst and you don't actually get a true appreciation of the elevation that happens, and I think turn 1 here at Brands Hatch is exactly the same.
Definitely agree. Very, very tough turn 1 and turn 2 as well, up the hill. Brake a lot later than you think, as Sabanel That was a huge slide getting on the power, and somehow he's been able to maintain the momentum even with that big slide. That pack of cars behind there, have a look how messy this is. Scott Barton, Braden Martin, Daniel Hedderscheid, Matthew Mites all in this pack. Who else is in there as well? Justin Howe in the middle of it as well. On his recovery, Braden Martin's going to lose a spot. Or is he? Hovers off, and around the outside goes Justin Howe trying to steal a spot.
Oh, there's contact there in the background as well.
Yeah, Hedderscheid just getting shuffled wide. Oh, that was a nasty rejoin. There's a little patch of concrete there where the AstroTurf ends, and then after that it's just like a big mound of dirt that can launch a car as Sabanel and Doyle go side by side again. So it's amazing that we're almost halfway through this race already. It just flies by at this circuit, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, and that's partly because there's so much happening. It doesn't matter what part of the circuit you're on. There's little battle packs forming everywhere, and already the leaders are half a lap ahead of the guys on the midfield. So there's action at every single corner of the track. Exactly
right. And the thing that they've got to be careful about with that is that Barton and Martin go side by side. And Barton through on Braden Martin. The thing they've got to be careful about with that is with being traffic, they're going to have to manage that traffic later on in the race as well, so that could prove to be quite difficult for these guys as we approach the closing stages, especially when they're going to be in a very, very tight battle with 8 laps down, 9 laps to go here. Big thanks as always to the sponsors and supporters here at Ozicar, that being Simfinity, Prestige Badge Trophy and Engraving, and also to 24/7 Race Control. Big thanks to them for helping out with the series and making sure that Ozicar continues to grow from strength to strength. And this season has seen exponential growth, hasn't it? From last season to this season, it's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. It might have been the fact that I stepped away, maybe.
Everyone heard you pulling out.
That's right. They've all signed up, and actually there has been some really good close racing all week. I know we're only week 2 into it, but the practice has all been respectful. The racing's been really good, so hopefully that continues on for the rest of the season. It's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, well, last season was great the whole way through. Even the really, really difficult tracks like Monza Junior and things like that all provided some great tight close racing. So Ozicar always provides amazing battles and amazing racing. So we're going to see some amazing fighting for the remainder of this season as we have a new leader. That is Alex McCullough taking the lead away from Ben Snell for the first time in this race. The McCullough's decided the halfway point is the point where he goes. The issue is that Ben Snell won't be giving this one up easily. He's already looking to try and work out where he can get this move back done.
Yeah, but he's got his eyes forward, but he's also got to have eyes in the back of his head. So got another top split car there ready to pounce, put pressure on. He hasn't got a second to take a deep breath. He's got to focus on the job at hand and keep pushing forward.
And it's a sort of circuit too where you've got to be careful being that second car, because as soon as you're attacking, the moment that your attack doesn't work, you instantly have to be in defense mode, because the driver behind will capitalize on your error or your non-move. But I'll tell you what, Ben Snell just done it absolute textbook perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Not his first rodeo. He lined that up from coming out of the first corner and stuck his nose down the inside. Had confidence in himself and the guys around him, and it's actually pulled a couple of car length lead now. So he's got his eyes on his race face and he's full steam ahead.
Yep. As you said before, that they may come into traffic. Car of Cameron Cousins, the last car on the lead lap, is 35 seconds behind. It's around about 16 seconds up the road, but his pace looks like it is okay. May not quite get there. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue in race 2 when we race on the longer circuit, which honestly one of my favourite tracks in iRacing. Absolutely underutilised, this circuit, Brands Hatch. Such a great track in nearly every car you race it in.
Yeah, well, qualifying was close between pretty much everyone. Everyone was within sort of that 1.5 to 2 second mark, so there's no absolute snails out there, I guess. Everybody's got a reasonable pace. hence the little battle packs that are forming everywhere. So hopefully everyone keeps their nose clean, and the leaders will see the checkered flag unaided.
This is battle for 15th position, 14th position I should say. Daniel Hedderscheid after his little run off the grass before. This is Matthew Spencer focused on screen. Just behind him is Jeremy Bush, Ira Felberg, Scott Harvey as well in this pack. Is running a little wide is Hedderscheid, and he's going to let Spencer get that momentum down the front. Say, not quite straight. I don't know how you describe it. It's a stretch, isn't it? The front stretch, not the front straight.
Yeah, the curve straight.
It's interesting, this circuit, I was saying before, there's literally nowhere on the circuit that's straight other than that little run from turn 1 to turn 2. And even the little back stretch has got a kink halfway through it. So even there, you don't really get a chance to breathe and have a rest. It is a very, very high intensity circuit because you're always turning the wheel.
Yeah, it's very, very flowing, but also very heavy on the brakes. There's a lot of heavy braking points. So it's really got that good mixture. It's everything you ask for in a track, and it's suited to these cars so well.
Lock up for Spencer as he got a little bit nervous there of Craig Kermond in his 17 car, running a little bit wide, and Hedderscheid also checked up there. Jeremy Bush with a great run, but he's not able to use it. He doesn't know where to go. He's just going to have to tuck in behind these guys, as that was a little close between Hedderscheid, Spencer and Bush. Matthew Spencer will get on by and take 14th position, or will he?
As you say, they're fighting for the crumbs back in 14th and 15th, but absolutely they're racing just as hard as the guys up the front are. There's long season, 6 rounds, so we're only second round into it, but at this point of the season, every point counts, so you just can't afford to give away any positions and be too nice about things, but you've also got to think about the long game and make sure you're there at the end.
The long game isn't that far away. You see sparks flying from John Schultz's car. He's got a little bit of damage. He had it off at turn 5 on that last lap, and I think he might have a slight little bit of suspension damage, because you can see that front wing and that front right hand wheel, they're not connected too well. He's gone straight ahead.
Just failing to turn there, wasn't it? There's very little he could do about it by the looks of it. He was just a passenger.
Yep. So Schultz has escaped back to the pits. Ben Snell, Alex McKellar, Alex John, P1, 2 and 3 with 2 laps to go. McKellar's already made the move once. Does he go for it this lap and try to defend, or does he wait until the last lap?
They've got no threat from behind. These three have really got to play it smart at the moment. We've got Chastity 6 seconds behind in a good little battle with Josh Fridge, so they're separated by less than half a second. So they've got a little bit of breathing room, and I'm sure these guys have done enough laps together, even though they're on separate teams, that they know what each other's capable of. And like I said, trust in these things, being open wheelers, is a big part of the racing.
100%. Trusting your own ability and the ability of the drivers around you, both equally as important in these sort of races and in these cars.
This looks like the first of the lap cars coming up with 1 lap to go.
Yep, that is the car of the 15 car, is it? That's the 18 car of Darren Lassu, who's a couple of laps down. White flag flies, Barney gets a workout. McKellar, Snell, John, 1, 2, 3, and big defence from Ben Snell. He knows what's up now. He knows that these guys are going to try and pounce.
Well, he pulled that same move earlier on, so he just wanted to cover off, make sure that Alex behind him wasn't going to get a sniff and have a look up the inside and make life difficult for the second part of the track.
2 corners to go. With turn 4, slight kink left, and then this huge long turn 5, Clark corner. And Ben Snell looks like he's done enough. He's going to just hold on by around about 1/10 of a second. Nothing in it in the end between he and McKellar. Alex John will pick up 3rd position in a very, very comfortable drive. Would have been a lot more stressful than it seemed. Chastanoff and Fitz Johnson finished 4th and 5th in a drag race to the line between Sean Doyle and Donald Sabattle, and Doyle gets it by 0.02 of a second.
It all come to that drive out of that last corner, didn't it? She was very, very Could have gone either way, really.
Yep. When you've got that sort of margin, you just hope that you get to the line first, don't you? You've got nothing else you can do than hope.
Head down, put your foot through the floor, and just fingers crossed.
And try and push your screen a little bit further and hope that that helps. Ben Snell, though, picks up the win in race number 1 with a almost lights to flag victory. Led all but 2 laps in that race. And we will get the results up on screen when I click the right button. There we go. So Snell, McCullough and John, your top 3, separated by 7/10 of a second. Chastanoof and Fitz Johnson finished not too far behind. Then look at that gap between Doyle and Sabanel, 21 thousandths of a second. Absolutely nothing separating those 2 drivers. That's the sort of finish we expected last week, but we've seen tonight. We've got Barton, Howe and Braden Martin taking out the top 10. I'll let you run through the second list of 10.
Absolutely. Moving on, Dennis Hancock there in position 11, Matt Mites rounding out 12, Matty Spencer and Daniel Heddershield there in 13-14, Jeremy Bush, Scott Harvey and Ira Felberg. He was pushed over the line by Russell Clark. Once again, another close finish there with Stafford Marshall and Leon Williams rounding out the top 20.
Then the last group of drivers in our 30-car field for tonight. Vic Van Veltzen, Cameron Cousins, Greg Holmes all finish on the lead lap. Then 1 lap down, running into issues or just not quite able to match the pace of the guys around him. That being Dobner, Lassou, Schultz, Kermond, Anwell, Wilkinson and Stuart Crawford. We're going to have a very, very quick break. When we come back, we will have race 2. We'll remove the witches' hats from off the circuit and rearrange the layout. We'll go racing around the full circuit here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year. But the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker. Especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs. Any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome back to Simspeed TV and Aussie car action from Brands Hatch. We've moved the witches' hats, blocked off the run between turn 4 and 5 on the Indy layout. Now we've got the whole circuit open here at Brands Hatch for 18 laps of racing for our drivers for race 2. Big thanks again to Simfinity Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving. Just lost my train of thought there. And 24/7 Race Control. My name is Jay Kennedy, alongside me in the booth for tonight, and we'll be here for the rest of the season, as well as I'll nick off for next week, but you'll still be here again, Jason Fewens.
Yeah, like a bad smell. Once I get here, you can't get rid of me.
Not a bad thing. And shout out to David Haynes. I don't think he's watching because it's his birthday today, so I gave him the night off. So, but David Haynes will be back next week. Ryan Jones has decided to step aside for the rest of the season commentating here because he's decided he wants to race stuff. So he's off racing oval stuff on Thursday nights. But doesn't mean that our action here is any less entertaining as we try and click the right button here. When I work out what I'm trying to do, we'll bring up the champ standings and talk about them because definitely mixed after race 1. I don't have the standings for where everyone is after that race, but at the start of that race, it was very, very different from what we would have expected going into the first week at Indianapolis.
Yeah, well, after week 1 last week, there was a couple of names up there which we recognised, and there was also some names there which were, I won't say I was surprised, but they were a pleasant change to what we'd seen in the past. So Scott Barton there from the 111 team took probably best results last weekend, and he walked away from week 1 leading the championship. So he's setting the pace, and Donald Sabanel, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I've been going with Sabanel, but I don't know either. So
he's only 2 points behind, so definitely putting the pressure on Scott and Alex John there in 95 points, rounding out the top 3. So James Chasanoff there, a couple of points behind. So the top 3 are clearly, after week 1, setting the pace. And Scott Barton there, probably the biggest mover in that last race. I think he was up 8 from his qualifying position. So he snuck into the top 10 and capitalised on a average qualifying performance and showed some good race pace during the event. So he'll be one to watch out for in this second race as well.
Just also went and had a quick little sneaky look at the updated standings, and Alex John has taken the championship lead away. So that one little bad qualifying for Barton, if he had started up the field a little bit more, he may have been able to hold on to the lead. He's now in second, only 2 points back. Sabanel in third. So very, very close. 4 points separating our top 3 after our first 3 races. Qualifying is underway for our drivers, and drivers on a hot lap. What we've seen around this circuit before, or in other races I should say, is that it's very, very tough to get temperature into the tyres, especially when the track is cool. Drivers have less time now than what they had previously, so they're struggling even more to get temperature into the tyres with it being such a short session. I'm thinking that some of the tracks that we go to, we're going to see a very, very mixed up qualifying.
Yeah, well, qualifying, it's an art in itself, and some people master it and other people really struggle. There's people go into it with different approaches, and some people like just to bank a good solid lap, and then there's people that just go out there guns a-blazing and win it or bin it scenario. So it's a different mentality that people take into it. So as a result, the qualifying week for week quite often gets quite mixed up.
Let's try and find someone that's on a flying lap that we may not focus too much on. That car there is Jeremy Bush going a little bit slow, so he's going to just get one run in. He's someone that we can focus on. Josh Fitz-Johnson is on a flying lap. Interesting, they'll probably only get one lap. They might be lucky to get two, but it's probably only going to be one lap.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time. You do your out lap, you do a flying lap, and you'll really struggle to get around here in the short time to get that second one in. So getting those heat in the tyres and brakes on that out lap's really critical. And then banking your ability and confidence and making sure you hit all your markers on that first flying laps.
And some drivers are almost sacrificing the chance of getting a second lap in just to get the heat into the tyres at 140.5 our first time. No, Sabanel will go to P1 very, very quickly.
And Doyle's within half a second, and McKellar just sneaks into P2 there as well. So 300ths of a second there between the top two at the moment.
Very, very tight at the top of the tower. It's Sabanel, McKellar, Clark, Sean Doyle. He'll be very, very happy with that. Fitz-Johnson, Chastanet, Hancock, Hederscheid, Harvey and Felberg, the current top 10. But still, almost half of our field yet to do a lap time. Braden Martin, what will he do? Interesting, he runs that wide line, and I think that may have hurt his lap there. Does a 41.0.
So that 41.0 puts him into P8, so he's still snuck inside the top 10 at the moment, so that's not a terrible result for Braden. So Leon crosses the line.
P20. And this is interesting. No time. Ben Snell, no time. You have to start from the rear of the grid.
Talk about putting pressure on yourself.
Definitely. It looks like everyone may be done because there's only 10 seconds left on the clock. And the closest to getting back around is Donald Sabanel, and he's already done his lap. So,
and sitting on pole.
Yeah, so that is qualifying done. Sabanel with P1. McKellar will start second. We've got Russell Clark, Sean Doyle, Josh Fitz-Johnson, and James Chastanoff, the top 6. That's a great qualifying for Sean Doyle there to get P4 out of that one. Hancock, Martin, Hederscheid, and Harvey round out the top 10. Ira Felberg and Jacob Arnwell, 11th and 12th. Then we got Scott Barton, Stafford Marsland, Simon Dobner, Cameron Cousins, Peter Wilkinson, Vic Bent-Velsen, and then from here on in, got a mix of drivers that posted a time, 42.9 for Holmes, Williams, and Schultz. Then Snell, John, Fewens. All these guys have not done laps. This is Mites, Bush, Spencer, Howe, Lassou. There's a couple more as well, as our timing won't tick over to them, but that is a huge list of drivers who did not get a time in qualifying.
Actually, the other one that will be really happy with his qualifying effort is Scott Harvey there in P10, so that's a good result for Scott.
Definitely.
He's big names behind him, and he'll be in a good position to capitalise on the early laps. Everyone's got to keep their nose clean though, particularly on this opening lap when the tyres are still quite cold. There'll be a lot of people watching their mirrors, making sure they're giving room. There'll be plenty of people looking for opportunity to take advantage.
But have a look at the view from this guy. This is a long way back for Ben Snell. P22 after getting no lap in. He won't be happy that he hasn't got a lap in, but interesting to see how much passing he can do. Fairly long race as well, 18 laps or 30 minutes. Of course, the race lengths increased here for Season 7. And the qualifying time has been reduced by 5 minutes to counteract that. And we said before that qualifying could get mixed because of that different qualifying format. I think tonight's shown that we're definitely going to see some mixed up qualifying.
That's one of the good things about the Ozicar Series. Like, Ira's really mixed it up this week, or this season. Different tracks, the 2-ups, as the lights are going green.
Everyone away this time. Great to see, and already starting to get some moves done. Look at that, everyone getting through turn 1 cleanly. Will we get through turn 2 cleanly as well?
3 wide at the back of the pack, but they're all made it through.
Yep, good to see, and already seeing Ben Snell up a couple of spots.
A little bit of contact there at the back.
has been a little bit of an off there, and just saw Ben Snell, Peter Wilkinson, Alex John all involved in a little bit of a scuffle, and Leon Williams and Matthew Spencer both ended up facing the wrong direction as drivers take the different line. I wonder if anyone will get caught out through that section throughout the night. But away we go up the hill. This is my favourite part of this circuit. Down the hill through Hawthorns. This next corner, absolute commitment plus.
Ben Snell's on the move, as well as we come down Hawthorn Hill. The two Milo cars there are not used to being so deep in the pack, but they've got a couple of cars in between them now, so if they really want to work together, Alex John's got to, as he makes a move, he's got to get past these and catch up to the back of Ben as soon as he can, and then eyes forward and work together to pick him off one by one.
Yeah, exactly right. Got to work. Try and work together, but not as easy as you would expect around a circuit like this as well. It's a 100% commitment. Go through Sheens and down 2 corners to go. The one thing that always catches me out is off the circuit there, I believe that's Vic Bentvelton. The elevation around this circuit is very, very underrated, I feel, as a slowdown penalty. I'm just seeing, who is that going slow on the outside there? That's the 13 car of Sabanel.
So our pole sitter.
Yes. Now, has he had an issue, or is he just going slow? What's happened there for him? He definitely was slow out of the final corner. You can get an off-track penalty or a slowdown penalty for being too aggressive through that second last corner, or through the hurry down section. I'm wondering if it's through there as well, through Dingledale.
We've got Peter Wilkinson in the sand playing with his bucket and spade as well at the moment, so he's had an off at the exit of turn 1 on lap 2.
Yep, we've got a few drivers that have decided to take their pit stop as well. The most notable from our lead group, Sean Doyle, has decided to pit on lap number 1. Not necessarily a bad move in this sort of race.
So just looking back with Sabanel, he actually ran really wide. He got probably 10-15 metres off the track going into that last corner, so cold tyres possibly catching him out there.
Seeing Cameron Cousins is still in the pits as well, so it's actually scoring him as the leader at the moment. So something's happened there to Cameron Cousins. As my timing's finally fixed itself, so I can actually put some gaps up on screen. McCullough, Clark, Chester, Fidge, Johnson, the top 4 at the moment. Yes, the battle, the big loser out of the start of the race, down from the lead all the way back to 5th at the moment. Do we see any takers for the pits? I was going to say Sabanel will probably be smart to go. Yep, in he goes.
Get out of traffic, hopefully come out some clean air, and then just run your own race.
Oh, but Sean Doyle, who's made a big mistake, and running wide was Wilkinson and Bush as well. No, so Wilkinson and one of the 111 cars that was running wide there, but Sean Doyle, from his really good start, I don't know if he got scared by Leon Williams there that he was coming past, or is there something more to it? Just a little bit of a compromised line.
Yeah, I think he just might have got an outside wheel on that grass, which is very easy to do. And round she went, that's all she wrote.
On board. This is a strange one, actually. I don't know if he did run that wide. What we do know is he'd be very disappointed because he was looking very strong. So he's dropped a bit of time now.
Turning a negative into a positive, it didn't look like he hit the fence very hard, so hopefully he can recover from that and still got a relatively straight car and work his way back through the field. He's got the speed. He showed that in qualifying, so it's a matter of eyes forward, head back on straight, and knuckle down.
Yeah, being able to recover from those mistakes isn't just about being able to get back on the track. It's being able to clear it from your mind and continuing on as if nothing happened and work his way forward. And if he can do that, that'll still put him in for a good result, just based on where he was at the pit stop and the good qualifying that he did have. Our leaders continue on. No real surprise to see that the front 2 continue on for another lap. We're probably going to see them come in with maybe 3 or 4 to go, I would guess.
He's got a car there on the infield too, which is letting everybody pass. That's Simon Dobner having the spin there at the exit of turn 1.
Ben Snell did pit as well on that last lap, as we just see Stafford Marsden coming in. So Ben Snell, John Schultz, Alex John have all pitted. And the lead car of our pitters is no surprise. It's Donald Spannell just there. So we need to keep an eye on the gap between he and the leader. 28.7. We need to remember that because that will be the gap that we need to focus on just before McCullough, Clark, Chastanuff, those guys all come into the pits. If it's still around that same gap, you would think that McCullough, Clark should all come out ahead. But if that gap has changed, that will definitely mix up who the leaders are after the pit stops.
So Savannah's got some clear track in front of him. He's 5 seconds further back from Greg Holmes at the moment.
Yep.
So he's got no hold up there. It's just a matter of head down and make the laps tick over one by one with very minimal mistakes, and hopefully the cards will fall in his favour as the race progresses.
Big advantage he's got too is he's got his teammate just behind him. If he can close up, that being Ben Snell, may be able to work together during the drafting zones where they can alternate positions. I mean, the draft probably isn't as big around here or as important around here as it is in other races, but having that as an option is always much more beneficial than having someone of another team tucked in under your rear wing. Having Ben Snell there right behind him, almost acting as a rear gunner for him, that is a big, big plus for him.
Yeah, but I don't think Ben would see himself as a rear gunner. Despite a bad...
As a front runner, not a rear gunner, doesn't he?
As he runs a bit wide there coming onto the straight, he'll still have his own championship to think about at the end of the night, and he's absolutely got to have put the qualifying session behind him and make the best of a bad situation. That's what makes good champions, I guess, turning misfortune into fortune.
Yep, exactly right. And it's the difference between being a winner and being a champion, I think.
Whoa!
Oh, no!
That can't be good.
No, that was Greg Holmes having a moment, and Sabannel is involved.
I think Holmes has lost a wheel. It's rolling down the hill into Graham Hill.
So this is Greg Holmes. He'd already lost his rear wing before this, so he'd already had a rough night before this point. I think he's just been a little bit spooked by all those green cars coming up behind him, run a little bit wide, wheel in the grass, and Snell got him as well. So yeah, that rear wheel definitely sitting there, and that's unfortunate.
I think he might have been a victim of his own gentlemanness, if that's a word. He ran very wide to give the leaders, or the potential leaders, a good run through the corner there. Got the left-hand wheel out on the grass and unexpectedly just cut across the front of Dobner there, and the result was chaotic.
Yeah, almost too nice, wasn't he? Didn't need to be as nice as he was, and gave too much space, and that ended up in an incident. Unfortunate when you see that happen, but we see it quite a lot where drivers try and be as nice as they can, and it brings about an issue just by being too polite. It's never intentional, but always disappointing to see. So Ben Snell looks like he's got away unscathed. Sabannel surprisingly doesn't look like his car's too bad. That rear wing's a little bit bent up, but the front looks okay. But
so he just
car's doesn't look too good.
Donald just did a 52.66 as he comes around to complete that lap. So that's, like I said, even with a bit of a rear wing cosmetic damage, he's still able to put in a good, consistent lap time. So hopefully his overall race won't be jeopardised and he can continue to move forward. But that means we don't have to remember that 28.4 second gap we were talking about before.
No, that's gone. So you would say that these guys now are the effective leaders. Ben Snell is around about 30 seconds behind, so he was, as we saw, around about 2 seconds back. He will have to try and move forward a little bit to potentially jump these guys. Probably needs to find himself about 3 seconds. Not going to be easy to do, especially when these two at the front are lapping very, very consistently as they complete lap number 5, lap number 6 even, start lap 7. Seeing Scott Harvey come into the pits. We've talked about him before with his very, very good qualifying effort. And also in is Vic Bent-Veltzen. I'm surprised to see some guys pitting at this point.
Yeah, I was just going to say, traditionally you tend to see a lot of guys pit really early or really late, but not so much at the midway point of the race. And here we are, 7 of 18 laps into it. There's been a real mix-up of people's strategy and how they're going to handle the race as it goes on. So track position, I dare say, plays a large part of that. So if you're in traffic, it's a good idea to get out of it. Try and find yourself a little window so you can get some clean track on the exit and not get held up or get caught up in anyone else's circumstances.
I think the likes of Ben Veltzen there might have been getting a little bit nervous seeing Ben Snell, Alex John, John Schultz all coming up behind him. He might have thought, no, I'll just get out of this now. Easier to let these guys in, let these guys through when I'm driving down the pit lane than it is out on the track, because it's very, very unique, this circuit, in that it's not very wide. It feels very, very claustrophobic even in bigger cars. Not quite so much in the Skippy, but in bigger cars like a GT3 or a V8, it can feel quite claustrophobic how narrow it is around that back half of the circuit.
Yeah, you've really got to be spot on with your turning points, your apexes, and like we said before, it's all a matter of a lot of confidence, and a lot of those corners are quite blind, so you've really got to tip it in, make sure you're on the right line, make sure you haven't missed your braking marker, otherwise you'll end up with a wheel out in the grass, and as we saw earlier, that could be the end of someone's race.
Hedderscheid in, Scott Barton in. And I just saw another car come in, but I can't see them on my timing anymore. 26.8 second lane time there for Hedderscheid. And have a look at where he's come out. Just behind Ben Snell, just ahead of Alex John. So that's not a bad position for Hedderscheid to rejoin the race in.
So we've got Scott Barton in the pits at the moment, so he was our championship leader going into tonight.
Well, this is a long stop.
He has been there for quite a while, absolutely. Car looks straight, so I don't know what's going on there.
I've got a suspicion that it may be a speeding in pit lane penalty on his way in.
And he's off.
And his pit stop time is around about 40 seconds longer than everyone else. That screams, I sped in the lane.
Pit lane penalty.
Yep.
That 40 seconds seems an eternity when you're sitting there.
Especially around a shorter circuit. So he'll be ruining that. He's Hedderscheid.
Rejoined back in 21st position, so he has got some work to do in the second half of this race.
Hedderscheid's cold front tyres probably just cost him a position there to Alex John and John Schultz now trying to get through. And Dennis Hancock as well. He's done a great job to hang on the back of these guys. Dennis we usually see in the lower ends of the top 10, but I'll tell you what, tonight he's fighting with these guys that are true front runners, and it's great to see him fighting as hard as he is.
Yeah, Dennis is, I won't say he's a hit and miss driver, but he surprises you when you least expect it. So he's always around that top 10 mark, and he's very, very consistent. That's his key, I think. He tends to stay out of trouble, tends to keep his nose clean and not get caught up in these little battle packs. And at the end of the season, he's always there with in the showing. So we've got someone else around, Peter Wilkinson, having a spin later on in the circuit, so big puff of smoke as he comes back on the track.
Now this is where our race gets interesting. Hitch Johnson out ahead of Ben Snell. So he is now the lead car that has pitted, but he's 31 seconds back from our race leader. That to me says that McKellar, Clark are going to come out 1-2, but he is going to come out. Well, James Chastaneuf is going to come out right with those guys. I reckon it's going to be very, very close between these two drivers right here and James Chastaneuf. I almost want him to pit now so that we can see, but in the same breath, he's doing a great job out there. He's all on his lonesome.
Yeah, there's not a real incentive to pit at the moment, I guess. It's just keeps us circulating. If you're not in traffic and you're in a bit of a rhythm, you just keep going round and round and round and making last minute pit stop, and hopefully you've got enough of a gap to give you a bit of breathing room on that last couple of laps when you've got some cold tyres.
Now why does it show the last lap from Ben Snell? Reason being that was the fastest lap of the race from Ben Snell, a 1:38.4. So Be interested to see what he would have done if he had got a qualifying lap in. Because he is the fastest car out on track at the moment. He almost backed it up with a back-to-back lap. Our leaders are lapping at identical paces as well, both doing 38.7s. So they've got some good pace. Chastanov in third, though, he is doing 39. So he's a little bit behind the pace of our lead group. So that just plays into that interesting thinking of where Chastanov's going to rejoin when he does dive into the lane.
So I'm right in thinking, I think Snell actually pitted at the end of lap 1.
Yes.
So he's sitting up inside the top 10 at the moment in 7th. So from a 22 starting position, he has done very well as we're sort of reaching just over the halfway point of the race. He has got nothing stopping him now. He's no other stops in the race. A little bit of clear traffic around him, or clear track around him. So he'll be aiming for a top 5, and if you can get that out of a P22 start, that'll be an incredible result.
The damage limitation with a result like that, as we're on board with Dennis Hancock again. And Daniel Hedeshard just went side by side for a moment there, but tucked back into line. And they've got a lapped car just behind them as well. As I've just noticed something that's going to make our days a little bit more interesting. James Chastanov has made his pit stop. Where is Ben Snell? Here he comes.
Right on cue.
It's a
So remember,
2
cold
seconds.
tyres.
Yep, cold tyres and 2 second gap. And Ben Snell, fastest lap of the race again.
Chastity is going to find himself with a bit of company real quick. And by the looks, he's bringing Howe with him.
Yep, Howie is a lap down, unfortunately. He's had a little bit of a rough night. Has Justin Howe 1.5 seconds between what is now our effective final podium spot between Chastanov and Snell. And I'll tell you what, this battle between Hedeshide and Hancock was going to be very, very interesting. As you just see Hedeshide taking the alternate line out of turn 3.
I think he might have been trying to cool his tyres down.
He was definitely doing something that wasn't normal. It's given him a little bit of momentum though down the hill, but Hancock will probably, if he can play this right, he might be able to over and under. No, not quite close enough.
Definitely, like you were saying before, definitely a part of the track where you can't go too wide.
Oh,
As
nice
I say
move.
that. Whoop.
Hold on to it. And he does, but he's lost a spot. So Dennis Hancock back into 11th now.
So Hedeshide's theory there, when in doubt, throttle out, just keep the boot into it, and he only lost the one position. He'll live to fight another day.
Braden Martin from 4th position comes into the pits. That leaves us with only 4 drivers now yet to make their stops, that being McKellar, Clark, Mites and Fellberg. Braden Martin will rejoin just beside Alex John. John will likely go on by. The Braden Martin, what's that put him in net? 6th. That's not a bad night when you see the names around him.
Yeah, well, Braden had a rough week last week at Indianapolis. One he was very keen to put behind him, and tonight's just shown he's definitely got the pace to run with well and truly within the top 10. And with a little bit of slipstream, you could say he could stick with those quicker guys around him.
Well, this is definitely going to be a very, very interesting battle the whole way through, because any of these guys in this group could be the car that you could say deserves to lead the group, because Chastanov, John, Martin, Fitz Johnson, they've all got good pace. If I actually have got the wrong numbers there, let's scoot that forward a little bit. One more car. That looks better. John Schultz is the last car in the group. He's going to get past Fitz Johnson here, and he does. That was a little tighter than they would have liked, but they got it done.
Again, respect. There's a lot of respect shown between these guys. They race with each other week in, week out, and the community that Ira's created here with the Skip Barbers has been a really good one. The Ozicar guys, they don't tend to take any nonsense, and as a result, the racing week in, week out is proven to be a winning formula. So
100%. It's been fantastic racing from the first ever race that we had in the turbo touring cars way back when. Feels like an eternity ago. It's just on 12 months ago that we had the first ever round of that. And now it's evolved into the Skippies, and it's been absolutely brilliant racing since then. And we've loved being a part of it the whole way through as well here at Simspeed. And the drivers have loved it as well because they keep coming back. They keep coming back for more, which means that the racing is good and everything around the series is good. The community's good too.
Another good key and an indicator, I guess, is the amount of people that see out the whole season. A lot of races and a lot of communities tend to drop off as the season goes on. And in my experience, at least while I've been doing the Ozicar, that hasn't been the case. It's the same guys, week in, week out.
I think the shorter season has definitely helped us. Here we go. Russell Clark into the pits from second. Be interesting to see how much fuel he saved tucked in under that rear wing of Alex McKellar. Of course, remember race 1, qualified P2, absolutely bogged it down at the start and didn't get away at all. So he'll be looking for a bit of redemption from that horrible, horrible race 1. He should rejoin in position number 3 because in comes Matthew Mites. Ira Felberg continues on. He's going to try and lead a lap as he always tries.
All about getting your name in lights on telly.
Exactly. That's all he's doing. Does it time and time again. Actually, Russell Clark's come out ahead of Ira Felberg, so that's going to hurt Ira. No, he's going to get ahead of him. Now, this is the only downfall to this from Russell Clark is, will he get held up, even if it's half a second? That could be enough to sway the lead back in McKellar's favour right now.
Yeah, so Ira having warm tyres, warm brakes, makes that pass into turn 2 there, and like you said, it's an opportunity to get past. They've really got to make the most of it and find a way around Ira. Run down Hawthorne Hill, but he's finding himself on the wrong side of the track. But I think he's got the overall speed and goes around the outside. It's a good move.
I think Ira may have lifted out a little bit to make it not too difficult for him as well, so he may not have lost out too badly there. 25 seconds is the gap between he and McKellar. We're going to see McKellar in this lap, you would think. What do I know? I've only been sitting here watching and I still get it wrong each week. Every single race I get it wrong.
McKellar, if you say he's going to pit the next lap, you'll get it right eventually.
Yeah, exactly. He'll pit sometime between now and the end. I got that guaranteed. We thought this battle might have been over. There was a little bit of contact there. That was Dennis Hancock just giving Daniel Hederscheid a little bit of a hurry up there. As Hederscheid's back on through, and Donald Sabanel's right on the rear. And Matthew Mites is closing in on these guys too. He's just come out of the pits, but he's not too... Well, that won't help him, but he's not too far off these guys as well.
No, the sun's just come out too. Like 2 laps ago, it was quite overcast and dark, and the sun's come out, so track temperature's consistently changing as the race evolves. For quite a lot of these corners, every time you go into the corner, the circumstances and the grip levels are all going to be different.
4 laps to go. And Sabanel will get by Hancock, you would think, with that inside run. But Dennis Hancock absolutely threw it in there. Almost able to hold it around the outside. They're still side by side, but going to be tough to hold it around the outside here. He'll sacrifice the spot. But he may be able to come back. We've seen him do these over-under moves already. We saw him do one on Hederscheid that I thought he had no chance of coming back from, but he was able to get it done. Will he be able to do it again?
So we've got Alex McKellar out there still circulating at the moment. I think he's our only, he's our race leader, and he's the only one yet to pit as he circulates around and bypasses the pit entry for another lap. So he is going to leave it to the absolute death knock of the race to make his pit stop.
Braden Martin just lost that spot there to Fitz Johnson too, so that is a positional change. And Braden Martin back to 8th now.
So both those drivers in the Locked On Lads team, but of course within the team there's sub-teams. So those guys are both fighting for personal championship points as well as team championships. So just because they're teammates in colour doesn't necessarily mean they're going to roll over for each other and make life easy.
Often you find that when you've got those inter-team battles like that, you fight harder with your teammate because you know that you're not going to hit them. So you do fight that extra little bit harder, whereas if it's someone on another team, you might, oh, well, I'll let him go because I know that he'll blow up if I make contact or he makes contact or whatever. So sometimes those inter-team rivalries like that, you find that they get a little bit more aggressive as Sabanel through, and Hederscheid and Hancock now side by side. Hancock through? No. Hederscheid did a great job of being able to hold on to that spot.
Yeah, Hancock had a big look under brakes there, but Hederscheid managed to carry that mid-corner speed through and come out the other side in front, so this battle's not over, but Hancock is well and truly there ready to pounce if Hederscheid makes any kind of little mistake.
There was a little mistake just ahead for Sabanel through turn 3, but he was able to not lose too much ground. Now, interesting, I've just noticed a change for P2.
I think we've got McKellar in the pits. The leader's making his final pit stop.
Yep,
One and only pit stop.
Heard that little siren go off in the background of my headset. So McKellar in, but Ben Snell's got through on Russell Clark. So is Ben Snell within striking distance of McKellar? We said before 28 seconds was the gap that we needed to keep an eye on. Snell is down to 27.
Yeah, 27 and a half seconds last time between McKellar and Clark, so I think McKellar's done it. He's back out on the track and he's got a good little gap there to Snell.
Although 2 laps ago, not the lap just then, the lap before, Ben Snell did the fastest lap of the race. He is absolutely flying right now. He did a 37.9 and then backed it up with a 38.0. He's done 38.1s and 38.2s as well. The next fastest driver in the entire field, from what I can see, is John Schultz, who's done a 38.4. Nobody's even come close to Ben Snell within half a second.
There's quite a few of those laps he's done in traffic, so
yeah.
Started 22nd, currently sitting second on the track with we've got left a lap and a half to go.
If he can get to within draft with 1 to go, wouldn't be surprised to see him make a big lunge at the final corner to try and get a move done. Yeah, you'd love to win the race to come from so far back. We've seen it in Ozicar before, where drivers that have had poor qualifyings have worked their way through the field and somehow still win. And Ben Snell is using all the track, all the AstroTurf, and every single little bit of grip that he can find out there to try and close this lap down. He's under 2 seconds now. He's flying.
Absolutely, every inch counts. Every little bit of speed you can carry through the corner is going to magnify lap after lap after lap, and a little bit of a slide there going into the last corner, but carrying good corner speed again, so he'll have his eyes on for the last one, race face on, and he'll do absolutely anything he can to try and reel in McKellar.
Look at that for consistency. Does another 38.0 and start the final lap.
1.4 seconds behind McKellar. Just out of draft, but this isn't over.
Yep, it's down to 1.2, down to 1.1. It is closing and closing quickly. Will he be able to come back from the worst possible result in qualifying to steal a win on the last lap? Remember, he's been involved in an incident too, so he's had contact with another car that was spinning in front of him, and he's still managed to get it back. It's down to 7/10. He is flying right now.
I dare say McKellar is watching one eye forward, one eye backwards. He'll be well and truly aware that Snell's reeling in that gap.
He's closing ever closer. He's lost around about a second on this lap already. Ben Snell, is he going to be able to get through? Remember, McKellar still probably just getting the tyres up to temperature now. He's only got to defend 2 more corners. Will he be able to do it? He's already going defensive, but that could open up Ben Snell for the last corner, and he's got the momentum.
Snell's moving around side to side, so McKellar will be watching his mirrors because he just doesn't know where the attack's going to come from.
Side by side through the final corner, Alex McKellar, Ben Snell, who will take the victory? McKellar's on the inside.
He's not going to do it.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it.
He has got it. He's got it. Oh.
Steals a win on the last lap, does Ben Snell, by 0.04 of a second. Ben Snell, from 22nd to 1st, wins it on the last lap, at the exit of the last corner. What a drive from Ben Snell.
So Russell Clark there following McKellar across the line, rounding out the podium. Chastanoff there in fourth, 7.5 seconds behind the leader. And once again, Alex John pushing Chastity over the line to take sixth place. So a couple of close finishes there within the top 10. Josh Fridge and Braden Martin are also separated by less than half a second in 7th and 8th.
This is a replay of the last lap, though, between Daniel Hedderscheid and Dennis Hancock. And there was contact between the two. I think Hedderscheid might have just not got the run that Dennis Hancock was thinking he had there. And they made nose-to-tail contact through the final corner. I wouldn't be surprised if Race Control review this one over the next little bit. And we could see a change of position there after the race is over.
So Hancock actually did a good job, other than the contact there between the two cars. He actually did a really good job of holding the brakes and not coming back across the track. So there was a little bit of rollback there, but the big puff of smoke made it difficult for anyone else to see coming through. So kudos to Dennis there. He actually did a good job to stay off the race line.
Unfortunate way for the race to end, though, for those guys, because they definitely both deserved a much better result than that. We get our results up on screen in just a second. When I click the right button, you see all the real behind the scenes stuff of how things happen here tonight. First night in the booth with us.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's been an experience.
Definitely been an entertaining night of racing with Ben Snell stealing the win, literally stealing the win at the end of the race. McKellar in second, 0.04 of a second separating the first and second place drivers. Russell Clark in third. James Chastanoff held off an attack late from Alex John for fourth position. John in fifth. Then we've got John Schultz in sixth. Fitz Johnson in seventh. Then we've got Braden Martin, Ron Sabanel and Sean Doyle rounding out the top 10. Doyle with a decent result considering where he was after his pit stop with a spin.
Yeah, I think Doyle will be quite happy with that. Matt Might's there in 11th, Jeremy Bush in 12th, Ira Felberg coming through for 13th, followed by Dennis Hancock, and of course Hedderscheid there after that contact on the last corner of the last lap. Scotty Harvey there in 16, Jacob Ornell in 17th position there, 51 seconds off the pace. Scott Barton, Vic Bensel and Darren Lassou rounding out the top 20.
Now last page of drivers, Stafford Marsland finishes in 21st, last driver on the lead lap. Then Justin Howe, Simon Dobner, Leon Williams and Peter Wilkinson, Cameron Cousins, Greg Holmes, Matthew Spencer. And Jason, you ended up on the sheet again, but that's all right. We know that you didn't start the race, so
19 laps down. That's probably where I'd expect to be.
So we complete racing for the night. We'll quickly grab a chat with our race winner, Ben Snell. What a drive through the field, mate. Did you think you were going to get there in the end?
No, not at all. Not at the start. And then when Russell come out 6 seconds in front of me with 2 or 5 laps to go, whatever it was, I was like, yeah, I'm way too far behind. And then obviously the hot tyres made such a difference with just the speed. So I just managed to reel him in. And obviously with the tyre advantage, I had the corner pace to be able to get passes done.
Talk us through qualifying. What happened there? I think I stole your question there, Jason.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, going into that last corner, you were confident you had the pace and the ability and the grip to hold it on the outside?
Yeah, so, and I had the confidence in Alex to not run me off the track as well. So it takes 2 to tango on a move like that. So I knew he was always going to defend the inside because that's the smartest thing to do. So I just basically sent it around the outside and went, I hope I've got enough tyre and enough tyre heat to get through. And thankfully I did. It was a super close finish.
Talk us through qualifying though. What happened in qualifying for such a bad result in quali, considering the pace you had?
I dipped a tyre. I dipped a tyre in the grass through the third fast right-hander coming across the top of the hill, and it just spat me straight into the wall. So yeah, it just was one of those things. I probably should have learnt from my races in the Pro Truck Throwdown and went, it's only one lap, you should probably take it a little bit easy.
Nevertheless, a great result in the end though, to come back through on a grandstand finish. Congratulations on a P1 in race 2 with that fantastic finish. Who would you like to thank?
Thank you. Thanks for you guys for putting on the broadcast. I'm definitely going to enjoy going back and having a watch of that one. Thanks to Ira and the Ozicar crew for putting on a great series, and thanks to Alex and AJ and the Milo boys and everybody in the Discord for having a good chat and having some fun while we race.
There is our race winner for tonight, Ben Snell. And next week, we head to a track that we've never raced in this series before in any Aussie car racing, because it's the newest circuit to iRacing. We head to Hockenheim, and we head to Enduro mode. What are your thoughts going into Hockenheim next week with Endurance mode well and truly in play?
Well, Endurance weeks in the past haven't been favourites of mine. It really is about playing the long game, making smart decisions, picking your battles, because they're double points. So a bad result during the endurance round can really hurt you during the season. They're only a 6-week season, so there's not a lot of recovery time. So it's going to be interesting to see the mental approach that some people take. It's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. It should be a very, very fun race, especially with the competitive field we have for this season. Big thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight, and a big thanks as well to everyone who has got behind and supported Nathan while he has been having his surgery. He's actually sent us a message while that race was on then to say thank you to the community. So big shout out. I know he's watching, so get well soon, mate. We'll see you back out on track very, very soon. Big thanks again to Simfinity, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and 24/7 Race Control for their support. We will see you next week for more Aussie car action, but if you are interested in more sim racing action here on SimSpeed, we'll be back in around about 15 minutes time for the ODSE 360 Sprint Car Power Series from Linear Speedway. Until next time, we will see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh my God.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?